This is Groundeffected, and my name is your dad. And in today's video, I'm painting this model from my custom models. And he very kindly made two versions of this model. Personally, it's the penguin on the back that does it for me, so I'm gonna make this version. But that's enough about this model choice, and I'm gonna tell you more about this particular sponsor later on in the video. Let's move on to painting. Now, I can't remember if I filmed any of the printing of this part, so if I didn't, this little bit's gonna be a little bit awkward. And luckily I actually did, and this is why I have a little bit of a segment which in the video world we like to call a montage. Basically, I just want to explain a couple things. Essentially, I 3D printed the base for this model using my Bambu Labs Carbon X1, and the rest of the model parts I printed on my GK2. Actually, it was 2 plates of GK2, or I think I used my GK3 Pro, which you can see in the far corner right now. And I essentially printed all of the resin bits using Sunlu standard resin with a tiny little bit of ABS like mixed into it, and this helps it not be as fragile and brittle as standard resins can be. For the cleaning of these model parts, I just strip all of the supports off before they are cleaned. This way it keeps at least some of the resin that is on the support areas not in my freaking alcohol, because this stuff's expensive and it's really terrible to have to replace it all the time. Some parts, however, are a little bit stubborn and they do require a bit of warmth or heat in order to have those supports taken off, and those parts I would clean with the supports on. I use the Formlabs cleaning station because this thing is freaking amazing, and for curing, particularly with the size of the model, I will use either my Nova 3D Curer or even the Uniformation GK3 Large curing model. As you can see, these are the parts directly out the machine. There is no cleanup at this point, and all I've done is take the supports off and essentially rinse them with alcohol. This is the large Uniformation curing machine, and in this machine I usually do 10 minutes per side with this particular resin, and each curing machine is going to be slightly different because obviously their light source might be more or less powerful. We don't actually know this, but I use 10 minutes per side on this particular machine. 4 years ago, when I started my channel, or somewhere thereabouts, I had on the back wall in my lounge a print, not even a 3D print, it was a real print on a piece of paper by an artist whose work I absolutely adore. This artist's name was Tony Ciavaro, and when he noticed that I had one of his artworks up on the wall, he sent me a bunch of his shirts. Yes, he has a company called Slowdown, and this is a clothing brand which has t-shirts, caps, leggings, you name it. Honestly, the best hats I've ever had in my life have come from this dude's clothing company, and I just want to make a mention of this because this guy supported me for absolutely no reason other than he is happy that I support his work and like his stuff. So there is a link for his stuff in my description. Go and check it out. If you're in the US of A, it is American made. Go and buy it. There's no tariffs on it. Check it out in the description right now. Hopefully I did actually do any of that, and I've showed you a little montage because that's how videos seem to work. Also, very annoyingly, for some reason, whenever I record with this camera and my other cameras, i.e. my phone, they seem to get muddled up, which makes it really difficult in the editing. So if things are muddled up, it's not my fault. I blame the camera. Now I have already primed things, and I'm going to show you exactly what I primed them with. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that my main character for priming paint, fucking words. Now if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you'll know that my main choice for a primer is Chaos Black. from Citadel. It is expensive, but I really like it. Now, a lot of this model has to have some white. In fact, most of this model is white. And in order to get that white, I'm going to be using Wraithbone as my primer layer. Yes, it is no longer black. It is basically this exact color that is on the can. However, it's not the same as this. It doesn't paint the same, it doesn't feel the same, it doesn't look the same, it doesn't paint on top of the same. It's not the same. Okay, rant aside, yes, those paints are not the same. However, what I have done is I have painted different parts. So for example, the top, her legs, and the parts that I'm going to paint normally, for example, the skin and all that, I've painted with black. So as you can see, I've just painted her mouth. I will need to mask that off, and I will need to paint the top of her head with that Wraithbone. But for now, what we're trying to do is achieve such a look. Also, there is some very slight issues, and I will try and show you it on these parts here. But basically, I had a little bit of a cold snap in England, and because of this, I have some very annoying layer lines, but I'm going to just ignore them. You'll see. But I did want to mention those layer lines, and there is a specific reason, because you can see them, and I've primed over them. So those people on the internet that tell you that don't worry about those lines, you won't see them when you put the primer layer on, you're wrong. You couldn't be any more wrong. And this is in part due to using good primers, because good primers won't just cover up all the details. They should just prime the model and leave the details nice and detaily for you to be able to detail them later. Now I have waffled enough, so let's get some white ink out and let's get a zenithal prime on the parts of the skin that we needed. Wait, I have just realized that I should do the base. The base is super simple. On this project, it's literally just pink. Let me pick a pink and let's paint the base. And with the base done, I can start to put a zenithal prime on all the skin parts that I'm going to paint with skin. The reason for using this is so that the color of pink that I lay down for Pinkle is going to be brighter. It's essentially going to mean that my final color at the end of the product of the thing is just going to be so much more saturated, because there is white at some point in that underlay, but the black areas are going to be so much more darker, meaning there is so much more contrast, and the spread between the depth and the highlights, it's just going to help make everything look so much more voluptuous. Now you may be wondering, why am I going back and forth between skin tones and then working on the different things on the model? And there is a specific reason for this. The way that I work or paint specifically is tuned to my channel. That is because I have a very short turnaround time to get a video out. This is my own fault, of course, because I said that I would commit to one video every single week, and as of late it's been a one painting video every single week. Now if you've ever painted one of these models, you yourself would know that painting one every single week is a task in of itself. However, painting them and making a video of them, as well as running a studio and being a real dad and not just pretending to say my name is your dad on the internet, it means that time is a very, very valuable thing to me. So the way that I paint is specifically curated to saving as much of the time as possible. This means that while some things are drying, I'm painting another thing. Basically, I have made a mistake, and the mistake that I have made is that I got bits. Can you see all those bits in the surface? I'm going to still decide whether I care about that or not, but for now, I'm going to put it aside and dry, and I'm going to get the other stuff painted to the level. Can you focus? I need to get these bits at least somewhere today. It is currently 5:30 in the afternoon, so I need to do something before I go home, but I do want to go home, so let me get this done and then I can go. Okay, so I have made a decision at this point, because I think it's just going to be so much easier if I put those arms together. Although I know that I'm going to struggle with painting some of the straps on the side. But to be honest, I think that I'm going to struggle more with not. So I'm just going to glue these arms on now because they are going to be glued, in my case anyway. And I'm just going to deal with whatever problems come from that. Now I can set to work on some of the trimming on the model. Because I have already got all the parts that I needed to be sprayed, I can move over to my table and start painting with a brush some of the things that I need to paint. And speaking of brushes, I have been testing some of these Artist Opus brushes for a little while. This is actually only my second model, so a little while doesn't really count, but I have been testing them, and there are certain things I'm still not completely sure about. So you will see me using multiple different types of brushes, particularly in this project, because at this point I have them available to me. This does not mean that one is better than the other, especially at this point, and in the reality of things, I'm just going to pick up what's easiest and closest for me. As you can see, I now have an avant-garde brush in my hand, and genuinely I have no real reason for why I would pick one over the other. I just use them as they lay on my table. Now, it wouldn't be a Groundeffected video if I didn't at least show you a bottle of deck tan at least one time in this video. And I'm going to use deck tan to paint, obviously, the stomach and also the feet, because this is going to be the undercoat for the brighter orange that I'm going to add over the top of that later. And in fact, the color is even called bright orange. I might just add in the ER after the bright part. With the legs and the bag done, I can move on to the rest of the parts on this model, and for the most part it's going to be fairly simple to get these bits done. All I need to do is paint a brown across all of the straps that she has on her legs. I'm going to paint all of the straps because it doesn't really matter at this point, and that dark undercoat will be a really nice undercoat for the silvers that need to go over the top. The only part it won't be nice for is the pink bits on the blade. However, I did keep those as skin tone before I painted the pink on top of them, giving me a nice light undercoat. And since Games Workshop makes both a spray and a normal paint in a pot of this Wraithbone White, I'm going to use the pot paint to paint the rest of the costume or suit, as they may call it. And I'm going to use some Apothecary White to give that a shadow before I can call that part done. And move on to giving a similar process to the torso piece. You may notice that this pink doesn't look as fantastic on the first go around as it should, but I will just let you know that I had painted multiple layers. In many cases, this is actually the case. A lot of the time, I have to layer these colors at least 2, sometimes 3 times to make sure that they are flat. I have noticed in the comments people asking why maybe their particular color wasn't flat. And then maybe it's because of this. I water them down quite a lot and I do a multiple layer over the top. This ensures that the paint lays flat and that the saturation is as bright as it possibly could be. For silvers, what I've found to be one of the best paints for this particular color, especially in metallics, is an Ammo by MIG, and it's the silver color. It's honestly fantastic. However, it is a little bit wet, which means that it likes to flow in places you don't want it to flow. So I usually use the technique of coming back and cutting back with the old color, just to cut back against some of that silver. So I would say I'm about midway through this project. Let me show you where I'm at so far. Also, by the way, as I am doing this, I have currently got a customer in the shop. They're busy purchasing a bunch of paints. You can't see them. They're not an invisible customer. They're there. So I'm dealing with that at the same time as doing this. But that's okay. Don't stress about it. We've got a little bit more to go. I'm going to start working on that torso very soon. I've already done some testing, which I probably shouldn't have done so far, but doesn't matter. I've completed Pengu, who sits on her back, which is looking pretty fantastic. So all that we've technically got left to do is a face, hands, and the torso. Can you shut up, traffic? But now, since we are about halfway through this project, is probably a good time to tell you about the sponsor of this week's video, and that is My Custom Models, or better known as MCM 3D. This Patreon only costs you $5.50, whatever the small part of dollars is. Once you subscribe, you have access to their welcome pack, which is 6 character sculpts, and you also get the current 2 sculpts from the month. Each month you will receive 2 models, and as well as some additional parts for existing models to give you the opportunity to make your own version of each statue over time that will be unique to you. Yes, I did just read that straight out of his membership thing. Either way, go check out in the description for the link to My Custom Models. Go join them and just print their models and paint them. Thank you for your great cooperation, and thank you to My Custom Models for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to painting. Quick little sidebar. I was busy painting that torso, and I had a little diarrhea for myself, and I thought I'm gonna make a little Deadpool-y sticker to put on top of that base. Will make it look even cooler. That's a good diarrhea for me to have. I'm going to run next door and quickly have it printed, on account of I don't keep sticker paper in my shop, and I probably should for the amount of stickers I go and get from the next door neighbor. Okay, I was going to film in there, but there was a million ladies in there, and I'm not going to do it. The lady that is next door does handmade soap, and so that might explain the million ladies in the shop. I'm going to go back there once it's printed, and I will show you when it's done. Lady next door.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we have some stickers, and hopefully I judgmented the size correctly, because if I didn't, it's going to be really awkward having to go back and ask for more, because I don't want to do that. And also I'm going to try cut out the one without a white outline first and see how that looks, because I feel like that might just, the color's just about right. I don't think I want a white line. I also don't know if I want, but I'm just going to do it. And with the torso being done, I can move on to the head. And for the head, I originally thought I was going to have to mask this out, but upon further reflection, I decided that it's just going to be easier to paint this. And yes, you can see that first layer looks absolutely shocking. I used at least 3 layers on that, maybe 4 to be honest, because obviously a whiter color is not the best color to lay down flat. And then this is one of the mistakes I made in this video, which is painting the eyes red. You will see I will come back to this, because that was a stupid mistake to make, but in my mind I thought they were red. So let's just move on and paint the outside rims with the black, and when I'm done with that, I can then spray in the shadows to match the rest of the costume like this. Okay, so I just kind of realized something, and I'm feeling a little bit sad about this, but her gloves are not full gloves, and I need to paint her fingers, so this means I'm going to now need to paint her fingers. And with the skin tone done on the hands, I can then work on putting a dark silver onto the weapons itself, as well as then using black to paint the gloves and getting them prepared for their, I don't know what, actually. I don't know why I said I'm getting them prepared, but they're not getting prepared. They're just being painted. Remember when I said I made a mistake painting the eyes lenses red? Well, they're not red, they're clearly pink, and so I'm going to fix that by adding a layer of this fluorescent magenta over the top of them. Even though I've already clear coated them, I will just put another clear coat on top of this, and it'll be like magic, as if it never happened. Fantastic. For the lipstick of this model, I'm going to mix up a bunch of reds and pinks to make sort of a pinky orangey red, because red on its own would just be way too, I don't know, stand outish, and I didn't want that to be the case. And since there aren't any eyes to worry about, the only thing that I have left to do is paint the teeth on this model, which is just as frustrating and difficult as the eyes. However, once it's done, I can put a clear coat over that to make it shiny, and then call this model done. As we have reached the end of yet another Groundeffected video. This is quite a long one, I know that, and hopefully you managed to stay around with the attention span to actually watch this full video. And if you did, I want to say a massive thank you. Of course, I would not even be in the position I am in today to be able to keep making videos like this, even though it is every single week and it drives me mad sometimes. I actually really enjoy what I get to do for a thing that I call my living. Now, it's obviously very important that for a living, I need to actually earn a living, and because of that, I need to thank the Patreons who actually do help me keep the lights on and the bills paid. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do this, that is 100% for sure. Also, a massive thank you to my sponsor for this video, because of course, it's the trust of the sponsors to trust me making a video that also helps keep the bills paid at the end of the month. A massive thank you to everyone watching this video. If you are on the toilet, please wash your hands afterwards, because if you don't, you are absolutely gross. And this is the time of the video that I feel like most people don't actually get to, and it's the part that I have my favorite saying. And this is when I get to say to you, if you don't like what you saw in this video, I legit don't care. You can now f*** off.